Enterprise Stories is the weekly radio program that shares the experiences of successful Nigerian entrepreneurs and provides expert analysis of their success factors. Enterprise Stories, business stories of success.
Good day and welcome to another interesting episode of the Enterprise Stories. My name is Olawale Anifowose, your presenter for the program. Today, in our Story of the Day segment, we have a guest, an entrepreneur that would share his story of how he started from his humble beginnings. And before then, we would be having Vivian Ani take our enterprise lecture series, and she will be exposing us to managing credit and cash flow. But before we start the program today, let's take a short message from our sponsors.
Let's talk about moving forward. You need a brand new car or a home loan so you can live in your own house, or perhaps a credit card to shop around the world. You've also been thinking about getting finance for your trade. Well, at Stanbic IBTC Bank, we've got all the products and services you need so you can move from where you are to where you want to be. Stanbic IBTC Bank, a member of Standard Bank Group, moving forward.
Welcome back. To start the program today, in our teaching segment, we have Vivian Ani, partner of iNet Resources Limited, and also a member of the EDC faculty. And today, Vivian is going to be looking at managing credits and cash flow. So please, let's have Vivian.
Today, it's all about cash flow. And why exactly are we talking about cash flow today? We're talking about the cash flow because without cash, you can as well not be running your business. Anyone that has ever lived through the nightmare of not being able to pay people that supply items to them or not being able to pay staff salaries will tell you the horrors of not having cash in a business. Now you wonder, how is it possible not to have cash in a business? Why are you in business in the first place? It is because it is very possible to be making profit, yet the business does not have cash. Now remember that there's a key difference between the profit and loss and the cash flow. Profit and loss will include your credit sales to customers, while the cash flow will not include those credit sales. So that takes us to another topic. If cash is so important to the business, how do you make sure that at any given point in time, your business has enough cash to carry on its operations and pay the necessary bills? And that would lead us to the next question. How do you make sure that in businesses where you have to give customers credit, how do you ensure that the credit gets paid back? Now, we do know that in a lot of businesses, if you do not give credit, you cannot be able to make sales, for the simple reason that your other competitors too are giving credit. Some businesses are luckier, they do not have to give credit, but for the ones that have to give credit, it means they have to come out with a clear policy about who to give credit and who not to give credit to. And even when they give credit, at what point do they make certain moves to recover the credit, just in case the customer chooses or refuses to pay what he or she is owing? Now, what I usually say to business people, ask yourself, the business I am in, must I give credit? Because like we said, it is one thing to make profit, but it's another thing to have the cash. If you're in the kind of business where you don't have to give credit, well, it means that as you make your profit, you can definitely be reassured that all the profit you're making indeed resides as money within the business. But if you're in a business where you have to give credit and that cash is not available to the business, or you have taken the cash that you've made out of the business and you have bought maybe too much machinery or too much other equipment that is not able to generate sales for you, and then the business is running out of cash flow, then you know that something is not right. But let's go back to the issue of having a credit policy, because that's the most common problem that we see, and that is one of the biggest things that take cash out of a business. The first thing I have to say is that you cannot make credit available to all manners and types of customers. You cannot. The first thing you write on your credit policy is, who do I give credit to? Who do I not give credit to? Now, if you decide who you want to give credit to, the next thing you do is, at what point should I give this kind of person credit? Is it from the very first day that I make a sale to him, or is it by the time I have sold to him 5 or 6 times? Now, when you do that, you now ask yourself, what if this customer does not pay? At what point do I start to write him letters? At what point do I start to send people to his office? At what point do I even have my lawyers write him? Or even at what point do I go to court? Or explore alternative options to ensure that you recover your money? A lot of these things I'm saying are easier said than done, because the reality of it is that a lot of SMEs typically are owned monies by very, very large corporations that are much bigger than them. So the SME faces a dilemma. How do I go about pursuing my money without destroying my business relationship? They also face another dilemma. Even when the matter has reached the extent to which the relationship is already strained, how do I recover the money without incurring ridiculous legal bills? Because I hope we are all aware, when somebody owes you money, it's not a criminal matter. It is a civil offense. Sorry, it is a civil matter, meaning that it is not a crime. The only option you have to recover your money is to pursue it through civil action, not through criminal action. Meaning it is not a crime for someone to owe you money. Now, some of these things are very tricky questions, but the best part of it is, as you set about creating a credit policy, a lot of these questions will be answered, not necessarily by yourself, but it's something you also have to bring your staff members into, because the truth of it is a lot of your staff are one-on-one with these customers, a lot more than yourself. And like I said, it's not everybody you give credit to. It's very important to find out your customer's credit history before you start to create a credit relationship with that customer. Well, I hope some of these pointers have been helpful. There's a lot more to learn. I would encourage you to have sit-down meetings with your staff and come up with a credit policy. It will really help make the difference in ensuring that your cash flow is enough to sustain your business. Thank you.
Thank you, Vivian, for the teaching for today.
Let's talk about moving forward. You need a brand new car or a home loan so you can live in your own house, or perhaps a credit card to shop around the world. You've also been thinking about getting finance for your trade. Well, at Stanbic IBTC Bank, we've got all the products and services you need so you can move from where you are to where you want to be. Stanbic IBTC Bank, a member of Standard Bank Group, moving forward.
Now, to the story of the day. I have with me in the studio today Mr. Ubong Effiong of Direction. Mr. Ubong Effiong, good day, how are you?
Fine, thank you.
So tell us, introduce yourself to the audience.
Yeah, my name is Ubong Effiong, the proprietor of Direction Apparel Footwear. We're located at number 44 Montgomery Road, Yaba. I started this business 7 years ago, and it all began from a point where I had to see a vision from a weakness. I grew up like one of the team the president is using currently, growing up
which is growing up without shoes. So you grew up without shoes.
Without shoes, and I felt it was something I needed to leave a legacy with by making sure that I make provisions of this need to those who don't really have shoes on.
Okay, so I from what our discussion earlier, I mean, you had told me that you actually started working out in partnership with someone, and before you started off on your own. At what point did you actually realize that this was a business you were going to go into full time?
Because I already had a pain, then I started looking into how to start developing the passion by partnering with a friend who was like a roadside person who regularly does his things by the side, and I took interest in that, and I started learning more about why I needed to do something so different from what others have been doing, which is what led to the partnership I had that actually never worked out eventually, but I had to still beat up my chest to say I must take this a step further. To this point, I'm up there and I'm still going.
Okay, so direction. How did you come about the name Direction?
Yeah, that's one of the questions I regularly find very interesting answering, because it has to do with the vision of the business. I grew up without a parent, or without guardian. I had to define myself a pathway to life by trying to understand how to move to a destination that I've always dreamt to move to. And Direction came in as an inspiration from my experience, as well from my youthful age, because I had to grow with others trying to put me through to the line I was supposed to be on. So it has to do with my experience in life as a youth who never had footwear on, and who never had parental guide, and who could still see life beyond those measures. And here I am now, and I have to say I have to thank God for where I am and where I intend to go to.
Okay, good. So tell us some of the things that you've experienced leading up to where you are today. Of course, I know you were the final 5 in the Diamond Bank Building Entrepreneurs Today program. And how has that whole experience helped you to shape you to achieve some of the things you've achieved so far?
Yes, as one of the most important aspects of my life so far, I think that I've actually my visit to EDC have also helped me to really understand how a business is supposed to be run to a sustainable length, and the support from the sponsors, Diamond Bank, have also made me to understand that there is power behind the vision. And with that, I've also challenged myself to making sure that this vision must not die. And that's more reason why I want to still sit here today and say nobody has an excuse not to make it. If you have a passion for what you want to do, the ends is going to be the means.
Wow, powerful words from Mr. Ubong. Okay, so we are getting very close to, I can see my producer telling us about timing and all, but before you go, I want you to share, some of these inspirational things that you've experienced with the young entrepreneurs out there and those that are interested in venturing into this kind of business. You started from selling and from working out of other people's workshops to selling from your booths. Now you have a very nice fancy. I drove by your showroom the other day in Yaba with all the lights, and I was like, wow, So what do you have to say? Of course, we know that you're making some good money now as well. So tell us what inspirational word do you have for the young entrepreneurs out there?
I think one of the major things that supersedes the passion sometimes for my story, it's attitude, because you might actually have the skill, but without the right attitude it might not take you anywhere, because that's what will determine what level of altitude you could get to in your business. And it's so unfortunate that in this part of our environments, businesses are being driven by money, not by vision. And for me, I think that should come first. Then others can actually fall into place. I actually started this business, with almost nothing, but today I know I've actually, achieved some sustainable kind of, success, which I want to really attribute to EDC as one of the most, supporters of this dream, and also Diamond Bank. That's just the height.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ubong Effiong of Direction. And what I am taking away from here today, of course, is it's a vision and not money. And with this, we're going to take a short break and come back for an expert analysis. Thank you.
Let's talk about moving forward. You need a brand new car? Or a home loan so you can live in your own house? Or perhaps a credit card to shop around the world? You've also been thinking about getting finance for your trade. Well, at Stanbic IBTC Bank, we've got all the products and services you need so you can move from where you are to where you want to be. Stanbic IBTC Bank, a member of Standard Bank Group, moving forward.
Welcome back from the short break from our sponsors. With me now is Vivian Ani, an expert in business analysis, who will be looking at the story of the day and helping us to see those critical factors in directions business and some of the things that we can hold on to help us to make a headway in our own businesses. Vivian.
Okay, well, thanks a lot. I listened to Ubong, and indeed I was able to pick out some things I think would help other business owners. The very first thing he talked about was he talked about his very humble background, which is very good. A lot of times there's a sense of, I can't make it because I don't have a father or uncle who's high up there somewhere. I don't have somebody I can go to ask for connections. And I'm happy that Ubong was able to point out that it's not about having connections, not necessarily. Yes, some people succeed through connections, but a whole lot more succeed because of raw drive and, the push to succeed. One of the very first things Ubong did, interestingly, was that he did internship to learn how to make shoes. Now, this is very, very important. Ubong, from what he told me, he trained as a marketer. He did marketing in school. But he realized that he was going into a business that was new and that he needed not just to know the marketing angle of the business, he also needed to know the actual production side of the business. So one of the very first things he did before he launched out was that he did an internship for a friend, and eventually he ended up as a partner. And that's a very good take home for other business people. If you're going into a business that you believe you do have a passion for, it is not enough to just have the passion and understand probably how the marketing side works. It also helps when you understand how the production side works, because it's from that your understanding of production that you're able to fine-tune the production process to be at times to differentiate yourself, at times to cut cost, and at times simply to make your designs truly, truly better and for the more discerning customer. So the internship was a brilliant idea. And he also talked about the choice of company name, Direction. When I saw his card earlier, and I had to smile a bit, it made me smile. But by the time he explained it, and I looked at the card and I looked at what basically he does, which is make shoes and sell. Direction, you wear shoes, you seek directions. Yes, both align together. And he also said that because he came from a humble background, for him, a sense of direction was very important and very powerful. Now, you might be wondering why I am putting this factor in, but one thing you must do as you run your businesses is not enough for just you to buy into the dream or the vision. You must also have a rallying point for your employees, people who work with you, to also buy into the dream. And a lot of times, a very compelling life story does that magic. That way, you're able to connect with employees. I can imagine Ubong telling his employees about his humble background and telling them how the company came about and why he picked up the name Direction. So as you pick up company names, yes, we do advise as business planning consultants to make it to align it to what you do sell. But it's also good to align it to always bear in mind the need to communicate the mission and the vision to your staff, and that ties up to the company name. Training. I cannot emphasize the importance of training for even successful business people. It is important to refresh. It is important to find out what is new in your industry. It is also important to know how people who might even be in other industries are coping with the kind of problems that might also affect you. A lot of times when you come, not a lot of times, let me say all the time when you come for the trainings that we run at EDC, they're very, very peer-driven, meaning that you get to meet a lot of business people who are also facing the similar type of challenges that you're facing and who are able to, through experience sharing, actually help you solve some of the problems that you might be seeking answers for. Apart from the peers that you meet, you also meet our facilitators. You also get to expose yourself to the latest techniques in business, things that might make the difference between you and the competition. Ubong went on to talk about attitude. I think that was one of the last things he talked about. He said that for him, attitude is everything and is one of the major keys to success. A lot of times you find very, very smart business people, but even with that smartness, somehow the attitude is wrong. It is defeatist. I say to people that at times when I talk to business people, I say, why are you so sure that everything is going to be so problematic? Why do you go in defeated before you even start the battle? If you're already defeated, how would you have courage? How would you have confidence? If you cannot sell an idea to yourself, how can you sell it to somebody else, including the customer? So attitude is very, very important. And another issue he raised relating with attitude, he said that it is very important to be driven by vision and not by money. And I know a lot of people would ponder about what I'm about to say next. A lot of people might say, maybe I'm not abreast of the reality. But let me tell you, what I'm about to say is reality. Money, there's a lot of excess money that's looking for investment havens. Money that's looking for somewhere to invest, not necessarily through the banks. A lot of individuals have money, people who for some reason don't want to dabble into business directly. They prefer to run the businesses with someone. But what makes these people part with their money is when they see someone who understands the vision, or he or she understands the vision that they have for the business. Because in the end, money does nothing much. You get the normal interest rate when it sits on the bank. But imagine you are able to sell an idea successfully to someone who has a bit of money by the side. What he's looking at is that he's keying into a company that might end up being widely successful, and also he's going to get maximum return for his money that he might not get in a bank. But if you go in there, you're already defeated before you start. You can't sell the business to even yourself. How do you hope to sell to the man who has excess money to invest? I think, Wale, at this point, I don't know if there's anything else you want me to add.
Vivian, thank you very much for your analysis. As always, you're always on point. You help us to really see those underlining things that the entrepreneurs have done, or the decisions they've made to help them to become a success. And I'm sure that the listening audience will be able to take a few things away from that. So thank you again, Vivian, for that wonderful analysis. Yes, time has flown by again, and we've come to the end of the episode for this week. Stay tuned as we capture more stories that will inspire you and help you to start your own business. Enterprise Stories is brought to you by Enterprise Development Center of the Pan-African University. For questions and comments, please email edc@pau.edu.ng or log on to Enterprise Stories on nigeria.sme2k.org for useful resources and articles to help grow your business.